Hello, listeners, and welcome to Capture It. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Listen, life is a journey full of moments that provide us with opportunity to capture what it is that helps us grow into the people we truly want to be. Let's talk about these ideal characteristics that inspire and motivate us all, and in time, work to capture it ourselves. Well, hello there, Capture It fans. Welcome back. Today, we welcome award-winning educator Erin Livingston to the show. Erin is one of the best out there. She is an activities director at Aloha High School. She resides in Beaverton, Oregon, with her husband, Chris Livingston. Erin is here on the podcast today to talk with us about being service-minded and putting love into the world. Listeners, this is the point in the show where we would normally host a sponsor. But instead, in light of COVID-19, we would like to encourage you to support as much as you can local and small business. A little bit can go a long way and make all the difference in the world. Here at Capture It, we are hoping and wishing you the best of wellness and safety. We also want to thank everyone that's out there on the front line, our essential workers, our medical workers, our first responders, everyone doing what they can to stay at home, to save lives and flatten the curve. We thank you so much. We are all in this together. And please enjoy the show. All right, listeners, welcome back to Capture It, the podcast. I am so excited to have this amazing human being on our podcast this episode 5. We have Erin Livingston here with us today. Erin, say hello to the listeners.
Hello, listeners. It's great to be here.
All right. Erin is a great friend of mine, and here's what I'll tell you about Erin Livingston. You will not find somebody that is more energetic, that is more positive, and just so you know, when she comes into the room, everybody's getting a hug. Am I hitting that at all right?
Yes, I love hugs.
That's great.
I love people and I love hugs.
You gotta love people. I mean, we're all in this together, right? So, right. Erin and I are recording this podcast because I think that we need a great opportunity to talk about some of the things that Erin has truly captured in her life, and I've been interacting with her a lot more over the last 3 years since I've gotten this position that I'm in at my job, because Erin shares that position at her high school too. So Erin, you are I'm
an activities director at Aloha High School.
Yeah, and in one of the greatest school districts in the state of Oregon,
right, the great
Beaverton School District. And so real quick, because you are... simply put, you are happy. You are one of the happiest people that I know. And like, just when we get the chance to meet cross district with the other activities directors and kind of do work and collaborate, I always look forward to seeing you because you bring energy into the room. You bring that positive factor into the room, and that's needed.
Well, the same goes for you. I mean, we are joyful people. I usually say joyful over happy. We are happy people. We're happy to see people. We want to lift people up. And so, yeah, I think you and I are the same that way.
And what a great person to have on the show, especially if we can feed off of each other's energy. So I want to play, I don't know if this is really a game, but I think right now, and we're recording on a day that they've asked us not to come to work.
That's right.
Because of the coronavirus. And, super sad. I mean, it's a little bit crazy to think like, this has not been something that any of us have ever experienced.
Challenging time.
And that idea of like coming together and really doing this work together to beat it, right? And so we don't know where it's going to go. And so that's the opportunity that we need to really hopefully maybe bring some positive energy, positive light into the deal.
And coming together means staying apart, which is a very interesting concept right now.
Right, yeah. And history books will tell us about it later, too. We don't know what's going to happen. That's so in this time, I'm really being thoughtful of keeping my mindset around the small things, the things that I have in my life that bring me joy, those things that contribute to my overall well-being and happiness. So I'm going to ask you some questions that has to do with some of the main factors that contribute to our happiness. Okay. So here we go. Kindness is a contributor to happiness. So what is the last thing that you did that was kind? So kind, intentional, on purpose. You did it because somebody was deserving of it, or maybe they needed it.
I think yesterday going to my friend Catherine's house, she's the yearbook advisor, and her deadline was midnight. And she's not ready yet. She wasn't ready yet. So I spent from 11 o'clock yesterday until 11 o'clock at night, maybe. Yeah. So 12 hours we just yearbooked.
Well, you got to think yearbook has deadlines in school, and then all of a sudden, boom, they extend our spring break to a week in advance. And I mean, even at our school, our yearbook kids were running like, oh no, the due date, we thought we had an extra week, and now it's cram time.
Yeah.
That's not part of your job.
No. But I thought, would you consider that kindness? She's my friend. I love her. Well, I went to help her.
But that's why it's so kind and so intentional on purpose. That's not part of your job title. And to me, that's above and beyond, because there was a friend in need in crunch
to me,
time.
It's a no-brainer when that's what you do.
Yeah, and we got to live an intentional life like that. So the next contributor to gratitude or to happiness is gratitude. All right. What was the last thing you did to voice or show gratitude in your life?
This morning, thanking God that I'm alive and that I have my health and my life and my husband and all the things. Yeah, I would say.
I think we got to bring gratitude in daily, and we'll get to it at the end of the show. But who in your life, what in your life is worthy of recognition, and then do something about it. Go act on it, right? Be intentional with it. Do it on purpose because that it'll make an impact. Last thing that you did too, because it contributes to overall happiness, to connect to community.
Well, there's the community like the Aloha community, and then there's my community like my neighbors. I don't know. We called them, they're older and elderly, and we asked them if they needed anything from the store. And I think that was like a tiny little thing that we did, just asking them if they needed anything. We were going to the store. They were so cute and grateful. She brought me over some Rice Krispie treats.
Oh, that's awesome.
After that. So that to me was connecting with my community, my neighbors. I feel like I connect with my Aloha community on the daily, just trying to bring something fun, something different. I hug, again, almost everyone and hug the kids as they all left saying goodbye to coronavirus break. Right. I gave them the choice. You shake hands, you want a hug, or you want an elbow bump. Right. Almost everybody wanted a hug.
Right,
Joe.
Yeah. It's so important. That human contact is so important. And the other thing is with things going on and the connecting to your community is that just saying, hey, you're not alone. I can't imagine being an elderly person because they're the most at risk with the coronavirus. Yeah. And I can't imagine feeling like I'm alone. Yeah. And so even just extending whether they're going to take advantage of you wanting to help or go grocery shopping for them or whatever, just that feeling of I'm not alone. Yeah. That's huge. And I think we can do a lot more of that, coronavirus or not.
For sure.
Just letting people know, hey, you're not alone. And what you're going through, there's people that have gone through it before. I've gone through it before, and whatnot. So that's huge. So in community, feeling part of something greater than yourself is such a contributor to overall well-being and happiness. All righty, here we go. What's the last new thing you tried?
Last new thing I tried about 3 weeks ago, pretty much it's my birth month, and every birth month I think, I need to do something to get healthy and get in better shape and get a little stress relief and all those things. So I've started a new, I guess I would call it health and wellness program. It's a 12-week program, and I am walking 10,000 steps a day, which I've never really been totally cognizant of. So it's not like walking is new, but walking that much is new for me. But the big new thing is I have to walk slow. I can't walk quickly like power walking, like my body can't think I'm exercising. So that's
part of the workout?
Me. Yes, it's part of stress relief. Your body, like when your cortisol shoots up and the insulin shoots in, Anyway, it's a lot of stuff, but I have to walk slowly now, which is like, as you would know, completely against my being.
Oh, yeah. We have this thing, walk with purpose, right?
And fast. I do everything really fast. So having to walk slowly now, and I'm eating a little differently, and I'm sleeping better, all the good things. But I would say this program is the last new thing I've tried, and walking slowly.
So it's less about getting in shape, more about doing things in life that relieve your stress.
Oh, there's workouts too. So yes,
good.
I am getting in shape. There's new workouts to me, but I like to work out. But it's the slow walking. Yeah, the whole program put together is
that's awesome.
the new thing for me.
I might go try some slow walking today. I think it would bug me too.
I was almost like falling off the path. Like, I was going slow. I was like, brr.
Slow walking.
Yeah.
There's this thing in happiness called flow. Do you know what flow is? Like where
Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi wrote a book about flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the title of that book?
Is it called Flow?
It could be. When they started studying happiness, they very quickly realized, oh my goodness, there's this thing that we experience. It's called flow.
When we're in it.
And then that is just contributed to a whole nother research tangent, right?
Yeah.
But flow's huge, and that's where you lose yourself in something. When you're doing it, you lose track of time.
Yeah.
And the people that have flow in their life, they experience happiness on a much greater scale.
Yeah.
So, what's the last thing you have done to lose yourself in something flow?
So I think my biggest flow activity is probably doing makeup. I was a makeup artist for 8 years, and I could just do makeup for hours and hours. And I'm a perfectionist while I'm doing makeup. So like when I'm in that, I used to do weddings. I would go 6 hours straight and just forget that I even needed to eat or go to the bathroom or any of that because I'm in it. I think another thing is just making lesson plans or looking for something for my leadership students to do or something I want to teach them. I could get lost for a pretty good long time just looking for things. And I have to bring myself back like, oh, no, stop doing that. You're like not managing your time very well right now. So those are two things I would say.
Well, but it's great to have something in life that's, I think flow is hugely based on passion. I mean, what you got a passion for, and that's why you lose yourself. And you get so engulfed in, and that creates that tick in your mind that you just, lose that track of time. If you don't have something that you experience flow with, listeners, go find it.
Yeah.
And start with asking, what am I passionate about?
Find the flow.
All right, last one, the most fun one. When did you play last?
Did it snow on Saturday or Friday night?
Saturday. Yeah.
Okay, so my husband and I took a hike in Forest Park, and it was beautiful and totally, there was white everywhere and threw some snowballs at each other. And
wonderful.
Took a great
Don't
hike
ever
in the snow.
grow up, Erin Livingston.
No,
don't ever do it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you got to play, you got to have fun. So I want to bring up the first topic that when I think of you, I just think of service-minded. We get to sit around the table with each other, probably 4 or 5 times a year on a consistent basis and or through our communications, email, text, whatever. But you are such a huge advocate for service, and you're also just such a service-minded individual. And I wanted to give the listeners an opportunity to capture, what the essence of service is, because I think we do this wrong a lot. I think we said, I need to serve, and then they go do something and they don't get in return that really organic, that really natural feeling that we should get from our service. And I think that has a huge factor, like, what is your reason to serve? And so let's go back to, young Erin Livingston. Do you remember something in your life where you really were called to service, where you were called to helping others, and what was it for you that has created this individual that I know and have just absolutely built a relationship over the last 3 years with? What has created that type of person in you?
No, well, let's see. I've always wanted to help people. When you're in high school and you take those little surveys and things like that, everything about me always just wanted to help someone. I was the friend that people talk to and ask for help on things. Like, I've just always loved helping people. And so I think just that, I'm a big nature nurture person. I'm a big nature person. I think we're all made a certain way with certain gifts. And I've always been loving, and I've always wanted to help people. I used to crack up that all my boyfriends from the past were out of altruistic love, which wasn't a very good choice. I usually found someone thinking like, oh, I could help you. I could help you see this about yourself. I could help you believe this about you, to just help someone try to be their best.
Well, there's a reason that I talked about, some of those things in your life that contribute to your overall well-being and happiness, right? Well, we got to take care of ourselves first so we can take care of others, right? And then one of my favorite quotes from Oprah, I call her Queen Oprah. Like, if we had a queen in the United States, don't you think it should be Oprah?
Maybe.
Who would you pick? Who would be your queen?
In the United States, who would be these are some tough ones, Joe.
I know. Oh, Queen Oprah. And then here you go. Here's my king. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
You're not going to guess, but Guy Fieri. No. King Fieri. But Oprah says,
okay.
Who do you have one?
No.
Okay. Oprah says, helping others, through helping others, you actually help yourself.
Yeah, of course.
So there's that shift from taking care of yourself so you can take care of others, right? But when you're helping others, you're also contributing to yourself.
Yeah,
right?
And I think the big thing about that is to not help others because it helps yourself. So it's this pretty interesting concept, right? That you have a heart that wants to do for other people, because what you were saying before, when someone feels obligated to serve, then you don't get that feeling back. Maybe you're surprised and you do, but maybe you don't because you felt like you were supposed to do something out of some pressure put on you or something like that. But when your heart just wants to give to other people and to love for giving and love's sake with nothing expected in return, that's when I think that feeling comes inside of yourself. It doesn't, you don't need thanks. I don't need thanks from anybody. I don't need anyone to recognize me for doing anything. That's why it almost felt weird before when you asked me something kind I did and I told you I helped my friend. That feels weird to me because, because you don't go around like, no, I help my friend do this. You just do because that's what is in your heart to do, and you don't need others to know, and you don't need thanks for it.
And what you're talking about is like it's so natural, it's so instinctual to you, and I think that takes practice over time. But I think there's some things that then we'll talk about these here. Is there some things, there's some reason as why to serve, and when you find out that true existence of these things, it might help you serve at a better scale, because I agree. It's like with my students, you're not going to make us do this. No, I'm not going to make you do that. Yeah. I want you to want to do it. I want you to see the impact that it can make. I want you to want to do it because your heart is telling you that. Okay. So, 5 reasons. Five reasons
to serve.
So, this is something that I've actually pulled from my Uncle Randy, and he's probably contributed it from other places too, but he was the founder of Virtue First, and talking about virtue, and he used to do a lot of writing with these virtues, right? And one of them is service, favor, right? And favor being where I'm going to go out and serve others, right? And so favor is not I'm going to do something for you, so you have to, you owe me. Favor is that true, genuine service, right? So 5 reasons that contribute to why we should serve. Okay, here's the first one. We want to discover in abundance. And so that's the radical shift, right? From me to we. And I know that you've discovered that. So is there any thinking on that process, that radical shift from me to we, so we can discover an abundance?
So I think that doesn't seem so radical to me, but it sounds pretty radical, especially to our culture right now that's in me, right? I mean, I feel like every message that comes at you says you can have what you want. You deserve this. Everything's all about the self. And I think people kind of lift themselves up, and then how many followers do I have? And what do I have to say to everybody? And look at everybody looking at me. So I do think it is a radical shift, especially for young people and people who are caught up in that, to think that life is all about themselves. But obviously you and I both know that life really isn't about yourself. Like, life is about what you do on this earth for others. I mean, again, I'm a follower of Christ. Life is about loving your neighbor. And loving your neighbor means some sacrifice for your neighbor, and it means some obviously thinking and care other than me. It's thinking about what is actually best for others. What's the best decision right now to do for everybody? And a lot of people don't think that way. So yeah, I would say that is a radical shift.
Yeah, and you're totally right with the liking button, right? We are valuing ourselves at how many likes we have, and it's so unhealthy, right? And so like, and I use Instagram, I use social media, but it's like when I put a picture up on social media, it's because I like that picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Or it's connected to something I believe in.
Yeah.
Or it's connected to, it's like, I'm not doing it. And you got to be really careful with it. I'm not doing this to get likes,
Yeah. I just want to show you what I'm up to.
Yeah.
Kind of
exactly.
thing, right? Especially we as teachers with lots of kids. I mean, we have lots of people who follow us or like look at our lives. And so, yeah, I'm always careful. Like I don't take selfies. I'm not a selfie person, but that just astounds me about our world of how many selfies are out there and likes for likes sake.
Yeah,
So,
I do.
yeah.
I do selfies.
You do. I could see that,
and
Joe.
it drives my wife nuts because my selfies are so bizarre.
Ridiculous.
They're not like posing Joe here. This is like the biggest, goofiest face, the widest eyes I can make, and my mouth is usually wide open.
Yeah.
And it's like it did when I'm our family, right? I have 5 siblings, 2 parents, right? And so like when we're doing a group text, right? Somebody, can we do this? Can we do that? And they're trying to agree upon something. So my yes is often a selfie, like, yeah, just that big wide face. And it's like, so like just pure joy though is like, that's
a different selfie.
That's my objective there. Right. And I think when you think about service, there's gotta be that joy.
Oh yeah.
Right. There's gotta be that, I'm doing this because there's a greater connection to all of us and that it's about everyone else. My life is not about me. It's about the impact I can make with others. And when you realize that, what a great reason to serve.
Yeah.
Because it's the we.
Well, you can't help yourself at that point then. Like you said, it becomes just something that you do.
And I think we are getting to the point too is like, I think we discover a lot about ourselves in service because the second point is discovering self-transformation, and we can transform through service. All right. And so I know for me, it totally happened. And it's like I went into something, and maybe it was back in the past where it's like I felt obligated to do it or somebody was telling me to do it. But just by taking that chance and having that courage to get over the hump that like, maybe this isn't going to look cool. Maybe this isn't going to be like, the most attractive or like whatever thing. But I found something about myself in that service, right? And it maybe was, going to a soup kitchen and thinking like, people here they're going to be homeless, they're going to be grungy, they're going to be, but when I was serving at that soup kitchen, I was like, these are normal people.
Yeah.
And they just need help.
Yeah. Well, sometimes there's fear to overcome, right? Sometimes there's stigma attached that you realize while you're doing something that you are wrong. And I think the great thing about service is there's so many different ways you can serve. And I think when you're scared of a way or you don't like it, that's probably when you should go try that one. Right? Because that's where the transformation comes, right? If we always did things that we were comfortable doing, then we wouldn't probably change or grow very much. But when you do something that challenges your biases or challenges your like assumptions.
Totally. I couldn't agree with you more.
That's when you change. Yeah. When I was younger, I remember, you're making me remember when I was younger, I went to a summer camp every summer and I was probably, 8, 9, 10. And there was the camp just kind of across the way from us with, it was a group of special needs kids. So it was a group of students with like Down syndrome and different things. They scared me so much. I remember being a child and just being scared. And I was obviously fearful because I didn't know, I had never come in contact with a person like that, like, one-on-one. And so they scared me so much. And then when I was 14, my cousin was born with Down syndrome. She changed my world, totally changed my life. And then when I was 19, I had one of my first jobs. And, I think our job is service. I don't know about you. I feel like our job in general is service. So I had my first one of my first jobs working with a little girl with Canavan's disease. And it's very rare. And so Canavan's disease was a little girl trapped in a body that didn't work. Her mind worked, her body didn't work. And I spent the whole summer with her, being her aide at school. And, I had to strap her into everything every day. And then I would take her out. And sometimes she'd cry and I wouldn't know what was wrong with her. And sometimes she'd laugh. She was usually laughing at someone getting in trouble or something.
Right.
But, it was just beautiful to me how my fear was changed into, make me cry. Some intense love for someone with disease or special needs, someone that I, didn't understand before. And that service and love and, that change in my life of having someone close to me changed everything.
Well, and, the big part is like, it does take some courage to get over that fear to go interact with what is unknown. Like, huge blessing to my family, the Traeger family, was our Aunt Kim. Our Aunt Kim was born with Rett syndrome, and that's a disease that really attacks your developmental, your nervous system over time. Aunt Kim couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't eat on her own, but man, like her eyes were the window into her soul, right? And growing up, like I remember, the journey of hearing my father and hearing his siblings and Grandma and Grandpa Traeger talking about like why we invest so much in Aunt Kim, because she was this beacon of our family, and we did because Aunt Kim couldn't. Yeah. It's like there were some amazing athletes in the Traeger family, some pro. It's like amazing. We've given back to the sport of football like entirely, but like we did. You put those cleats on and go ran around on that grass, not turf, grass, because Aunt Kim couldn't. Yeah. Right? You lived your life to the fullest because Aunt Kim couldn't. And so like that it was instilled in me in a super young age. And so when it came to teaching and it came to interacting with kids with special needs, like that was my wheelhouse. And it's been so special to me seeing kids, high school kids, get over that hump too. It's like you can, and you are capable, and you are deserving to work with these incredible young people that are so deserving of that relationship in our school. And so totally inspiring, and like getting back to that service, that idea is like we serve oftentimes to show gratitude. It's like I've done a lot of service over the years working with special needs group because I had a huge amount of gratitude that was something that was instilled in me through a young age. And so we serve often because of gratitude. It's like I'm thankful that I had that in my life, so I give back to that, right? Or like I've struggled in that hard time, whether it be lack of resources, whether it be lack of funding, and something helped me get out of that. And because of that, I go back and I serve that same cause. So oftentimes we serve in a connection to express gratitude. And I mean, that to me is one of the most important things. It's like I need to be thankful for the things that I've had in my life, and if I'm thankful for something I have in my life, give back to wherever I see it's needed. It's
physical expression.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with it. I mean, I'm thinking now about how one of my greatest, what would the word be? The greatest things that I serve, I guess, would be families with children in medical need. And that medical need could be disease, and that medical need could be a special need that the kid has, their child has their whole life. But yeah, that's just been, I just think God places things in our hearts and desires and different gifts in us to be able to give and to serve to other people. And I think having a heart for families who are struggling because their child is in medical need in some sort of a way has been the place where I've, spent much of my time besides at school, through Sparrow and now Sunshine at our school, giving to families and loving on families, and like the loving on part, not just the giving, like the major encouraging and loving on and serving in any way we can. As an act of gratitude. And I think it's a gratitude for all things. Like I've never struggled with major medical issues like that and gone into major medical debt, and isolation. Sometimes, families go into isolation when their child is in need like that. And so, I'm grateful that I don't have that and that I can do something, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I can do something.
Yeah, and I think you sense the need and the understanding into the the point that I skipped, because we just went right on to gratitude, is like the idea that there's this profound interconnection between all of us,
Yes.
right? And it's like and a lot of this stuff I'm taking from my Uncle Randy in Virtue First. His whole thing was like, I'm gonna talk about really good human stuff because it might bring you closer to the cross, right? And that was like one step closer to the cross. And his work with youth and work with that foundation was brilliant, but really he's just building young people. And just building people to really go out and serve that great interconnection that we have. And I think that's what you're talking about. No, you've never had these medical issues. Never. I mean, thank goodness for my my health, right? But you've never had those things. But you can see the need to step up when you can, right?
For sure.
For the others, because there is this interconnection that we have.
We're so interconnected. And I think, again, with our culture now and the me and the isolation and everybody on their phones, I'm sure you've noticed this. Our students need help just having a conversation, and they think they have nothing in common with anyone, and how awkward that's all going to be. And they just couldn't be more wrong. And I think as you as we have students just talk with each other, and then they start to realize, like, oh, I didn't realize you also, because we're so interconnected. And I think, we innately know that like every human has love and joy and pain and sorrow and needs, and a desire to be loved and accepted and encouraged, right? All those things. And if I have all of that to give, which I do, then I'm very happy to overflow, like that abundant word, that I'm happy to overflow my joy and my love into other people's lives.
Yeah. And a big part for me is like watch this, it's like, it's like we're so interconnected that I know when the way that I'm living my life, and because we got a lot of spectators. I mean, our schools have 2,000-ish kids in them, and we got a lot of spectators. And you are in our roles, we're often in the front, and the lights sometimes shining on us. And my whole deal is like, I'm going to live a life that is so like, watch this. Here we go. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the way. And it's like I'm going to be the first to pick up a broom. Like, I'm going to, you want to make a difference, and we'll find your broom, and show them that it's okay. There's no job too small, right? No. And there's no little thing that can't make the slightest little difference, because if we all are interconnected, right, which, we totally are, and if we're all doing the little things, that makes a big world a lot better.
Yeah. And I think you and I both have the word leadership connected to our lives. And I think kids grow up thinking that word is like too big for them, maybe something they can't attain, and like a little glamorous maybe, or a little bit more important than I'm down on my hands and knees cleaning something on the floor, because like you said, there's no job too small. And I said, sometimes you guys think that this leadership thing and this leading thing is like, really cool, or like, they think it's telling people what to do. That's not it at all. It's the hardest thing I've actually ever done. And it means serving others. It means giving to others.
I agree with you totally. And so like literally, like, real moment right here. Okay. It's like, I've thought about getting rid of the word leadership in my school.
Yeah.
I was like, I teach leadership classes. I teach student government. And oftentimes our titles get in our way.
Yeah.
Because we forget who we are. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no one above us, no one below us. It's like, so I think titles get in the way. So I've thought about that. If you could replace the word leadership with another word, what would you do?
Well, they kind of freak out at the word servant. I mean, like when they hear that word and I say, have you ever heard of servant leadership to my intro students? And like 2 hands go up because their parents work somewhere where servant leadership is the model. I don't know. We're school servants. I feel like they would croak.
Yeah. What if we took? What if
they
we took
be like, no,
our leadership class and turn it into, this is service class.
Yeah.
This class is service.
Yeah. Well, that's really what it is. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, and I know you teach it that way, and I'm on board with that. And I think kids are shocked when I start going into that deep personal, like, we're going to sit here and talk about you.
Yeah.
Wait, leadership, aren't we supposed to be getting people to follow us? No,
Yeah,
no, it starts with you.
Yeah, you got to get yourself first.
And we got to get rolling through that
Must
way.
lead self well first.
Yeah, and I think you know, and the last bullet point here is like when you serve, you get a greater perspective. You learn a little bit more about how this world works.
Oh, yeah.
And you gain insight on the need to know information a lot of times, I think, through service.
Mm-hmm.
And so have you gained perspective in your life through your service? Like what has been some of the aha stuff, the gaining a certain understandings or calls to your thought?
So I think the first thing I think of is just those families that I meet that have children with medical need and just the aha into their lives. You know, you don't usually know anything until you spend some time experiencing something. So that aha and just the daily struggle, like the daily life struggle. You know, I've been alongside families and, you know, I come alongside them for a time and then I love them forever. Obviously, I'm not in their life always, though I couldn't sustain that. I just can't do it. But like right now, one of the kids that was one of our sparrows years ago, he's in the hospital again and having seizures again. And, you know, I'm just praying for him and loving on their family through some, you know, just some social media stuff. But like the long haul of a family with a child in medical need, that's, I would just say has given me greater perspective. And I don't have children of my own, but, just that long haul, like those are superhero parents. Those people are just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
They are amazing human beings. And those children who inspire us to do more, you know, these kids inspire our school to serve, you know, through the organizations that I work with. They inspire our students to serve and to think about someone other than themselves. Our little guy right now is almost fully blind. And he runs all over the place, is completely fearless, talks to everybody. And I just think is such a, you know, people would think, students wouldn't think that this little guy who's almost fully blind is just this joyful, happy, running all over the place, high-fiving, fist bumping.
Right.
And they're just like, oh my gosh, if he can be like that, like I can be like that too. Like
Right.
I just think these different kinds of people who go through hardship and struggle just give us a great perspective on life. And then I think my students who I serve just give me greater perspective into slowing down, focusing, listening. You know, I mean, I do everything fast. So like that whole walking fast thing, I do everything
Right.
fast. So I've been very intentional over the years of like when someone comes in and needs my help, right? Needs me for a personal problem or something like that, that I look up from the computer, I stare them in the face. And when they say, Miss L, you probably don't have time, I say, I always have time for you. And I stop what I'm doing so that they know that they're important to me and that I am there for them. Of course, life is busy, but they're more important than like our school day busy. So I don't know. I would say that just sometimes gives me a better look into myself of things I need to check myself on or make sure I'm doing in a way that's loving and serving of others.
And if we're not testing what we're made of, you know, our capabilities, then we won't gain that perspective.
Yeah.
And I think serving others and jumping into just like you said in the beginning is like I want to help. And that's what I remember thinking first is like I want to help others. Yeah. Start there, and then figure out like who's going to be the first one to help. Who's going to be the first person you go help?
And I think remembering, like, sometimes we think it has to be grand. Something has to be huge. It has to be large. You know, when people say the words great impact and you think like, well, shoot, I didn't cure anything or I'm not, right? But I think we underestimate the little things are greatly impactful. The little things just, you know, I think it's cheesy to say, but just even a smile or a compliment. I mean, it's not cheesy because it's real. I have never regretted for 1 second complimenting strangers in the bathroom or in the park, which I do all the time, because that little thing is a big thing for anyone.
Yeah, and a big part of perspective and gaining perspective through service is like that allows you to connect the dots. Right. And I talk about this with my kids a lot. It's like when you serve, you get to connect the dots. Because I did this, something happens. Here's an easy way to understand that. There's a piece of garbage on the ground. there's a garbage can. I can take that and I can put it in there and boom,
Right.
connect those dots. Because I did this, this is what happens. And it might be a small thing.
Small things.
But
are
if you
big.
can see the greater connection, that's what perspective does for us. And then that's where we may feel that internal, and what we call it intrinsic reward, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about here. It's like, why do we be kind in the world? Because we know the world needs it, but also we get something in return for that.
Yeah.
When it's true and when it's intentional, we get something in return. And that's that fulfillment. And
yeah, I also think it's building our integrity. It builds your character, right? It just like builds some fortitude in you. And especially just, you have to care. And so I think you and I both experience so many people who seem to not care about anything. And the decision to care means that you will go do something because you care. And you're not afraid if someone thinks you're weird or if someone looks at you funny, right? Because I think that's a lot of things that cross people's minds. Like, oh, I'm not going to do that.
People
That
are judging
weird.
anyways. Let them judge.
Oh my gosh, the judgment. But yeah, I mean, when you have a heart that just wants to do kind things to build character, to build trust, to build relationships, then, you know, the focus is on the positive. It's not on what's in it for me or what am I going to lose because of this?
Yeah. So I'm going to make you brag here a little bit.
Oh, shoot.
All right. So you just were awarded like a educator spotlight, right? What was that? Can you tell me something real quick about what that was?
It was the K2 Leader in Learning.
All right, on. And so just congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's huge. And I don't think we award enough teachers on the great work that they do.
That's true.
You said something when I was watching that interview on TV. You said something that just filled my heart with joy. Because like you said earlier, you don't have kids. I don't have kids either.
No.
I got one on the way. And
Right.
but I get told all the time, like, oh, Mr. Trigger, you're going to be such a good dad.
You are.
And I'm excited for that. And I guess my service to students and kids has built some confidence in that for me. It's because I've gained perspective.
Oh, for sure.
I might not be the best dad in the world, but
You've daddied.
I'm
You've
with them.
daddied a whole heck of a lot.
I'm with them. I'm hoping to make a pretty good
Yeah,
dad.
you're going to be great.
So you said something on that interview that just filled my heart with joy. As you said, God put me on this planet to help
love
raise
other people's kids.
Yeah, and to love it. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, that's huge.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I have been filled with love and maternal instincts all over the place, right? But I have never had a major desire to have my own children. And so my husband didn't either. And so we went with that. And I said, I have so many kids. And for 22 years now, I've been teaching other people's kids, and I just feel like I'm here to love them. I'm here to serve them. I'm here to tell them things that their parents can't say, that they're not going to hear from them. And I love each and every one of them. You know this, like they are mine. Some of them, a lot of them stick with me forever. I never fear that I would be alone or that someone wouldn't care about me. And I always love them and always think about them and pray for them and would be there for any of them in a heartbeat. I'm just here to love other people's kids.
So important. There's so many. We've been doing this a while. There's so many kids that need it. I work really closely with one of our math teachers in the building. His name is Mason Smith, and he's been doing these things. It's very alive right now in education. Is what we call an empathy interview. And at the end of those interviews, he asks two questions. I'm so proud of him and the work that he's doing with it. He says, "When's the last time somebody told you they loved you? And when is the last time somebody told you that they're proud of you?"
Yeah.
And so, and he just says, it's like, it's funny because the girls think about it and they're just like, I don't know. And then the guys, they just start crying.
Really?
Yeah.
The students,
The students, yeah. And so it's just...
well, I say it every day.
Yeah.
They know it.
Oh, well, and I started, and this is something I took again from my Uncle Randy. He's coming up a lot in this, but, I was talking to him a long time about coaching and building relationship. And, when I first started coaching and when I took over this role, I asked a question every day to my kids, what is my job?
Yeah. That was cute. I liked when you said that the other day.
And they say to love us.
Yeah.
And I say, what is your job? To love each other.
Yeah.
And we say that every day, and they're so funny because when I first started doing that, they're like, okay, love, okay, whatever. But now if I like say I'm rolling, you know how fast we move, and I forget, they're like, no. You didn't tell us you love us yet, right?
Yeah.
So because they feed off of it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's important to know that you're loved.
Yeah, and we have some kids who don't. I mean, I can actively in my brain think of students who just question what they're doing here or question if they matter. I don't know if they question if they're loved because I think they hear it from lots of people, but I think something goes deeper than that. There's just these seeds of doubt that get placed in their sweet minds that just says you're not good enough, you're not enough, everyone's judging you, just that kind of monster that lives in this culture. But yeah, every day hugs and every day I love you guys, love ya, just always.
And here's the deal, if you're listeners out there, and if you're struggling, everyone is worthy of love. Everyone is worthy of love, and
everyone is loved.
Yeah, and everyone, I think you do a great job of this idea of unconditional love. Not I'm going to love you if you do this, or I'm going to love you if you're this way. It's like you do such a great job of unconditional love, right?
Thank you.
So we go back to great Greek language, and I know you're aware of these, so I'm just going to bring them up, right? So we got storge,
we got some
right?
storge, we got some family love,
right? And that's what family is,
yeah.
And I think it's really important, like. People don't have to share the same blood as you to be your family.
No, agreed. Completely agreed. I moved across the country from my family, and I love my family tremendously, but I moved across the country and I pretty much got a job at Aloha High School and made that school my family. The whole school, not just, my class, like that whole school, my family.
And what year are you on there?
I've been in that school for 20 years, over a 22-year span.
So here's what I'm going to tell you. This is my 10th year in the district, and that school has such a spirit. Like that school has such a
we got heart,
family.
Yeah, we got heart
dynamic about it, and people are like, "Well, if you could teach in another school, Joe, where would you be?" Oh, shoot, I'd go to Aloha.
Really?
In a heartbeat.
That's
oh yeah,
awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the family aspect, and I know there's a lot of kids that struggle there, and like,
oh yeah,
and it's one of the older buildings in our district, but it's like. There, you got something going on there, and I know that you're a huge contributor to that, but I think it's because you bring the storge in there. It's like you treat those staff members and those kids as your family.
Yes.
And it's like I try to do the same thing. It's like my kids, they're my kids.
Yeah, they're my kids.
I'm gonna go to war for them. I'm gonna go battle for them, and it's like that's why they can sit there and say, "Oh, Trigger, you're gonna be such a good dad." It's like. Because they know, they're my kids.
Oh yeah, and they know that they're fiercely loved. I mean, I love that, and they know that we give so much. They can see that, and they see that's what That's what the love is like giving and being firm when needed, and the tough love comes on in with the storge.
Oh yeah,
you got to have the tough love.
Yeah.
But
the honesty.
Yeah, the honesty.
Like I'm gonna tell you this.
Because I love you.
Right.
How many times have we said that?
Man, but it's so true. It's like, I mean, you talk about trust earlier. It's like you have got to build and have a foundation of trust and love.
To be able to say.
And then you can really help and mutually help each other in a relationship. And when people hear the word love, they think of, the Greek word eros, right?
Right.
It's like romantic love. Yeah. Like, guys, that's not all that love is. In fact, that's only like a quarter of it, right? Yeah. And particular to the one person, right? So then we got agape.
Yes, we love agape.
So which is unconditional self-sacrificing love.
It's a choice.
Yeah. So tell me a little about
the only one. Well, I love that one because that's the only one that's a choice, and the others are feelings, right? Attraction and commonality, that kind of a thing. But the agape love as a choice, I've loved teaching over the years. Just talking with students about how you can choose to love anyone. Oh no, I don't, they just kind of get kind of freaked out about it. But, and it changes your practice when you're intentional with it, especially teaching it, right? Because I might have lived agape for a long time or thought I was, but then once you start teaching this word and, sometimes if the kids get rowdy or someone actually gets rude at me, and I'll literally just take the deep breath and I'll just be like, you are being rude to me right now. And I am intentionally keeping my cool and choosing to love
Well,
you.
and that's
Like,
that-
right as
right.
they're being rude in my face.
That's that sacrifice that you
Yes.
made in Agape Love, right?
And there's less self-control in that one too. You know, these things aren't just easy. It's not just easy to decide this. That's why it's obviously a choice. Because if it were easy, it would just be a feeling. Feelings are easy.
Yeah.
But this choice of, you know, right now I am choosing to love you, which means we're going to talk this out, or I'm going to take a moment, or, you know, whatever it needs to be, because the agape love is only the most important love when you're being stared in the face with the opposite.
Right.
Right.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's
everybody
that
was
huge,
loving all the time.
That's that huge sacrifice. Like, I'm going to sacrifice right now, like, my want to react to this. And instead, I'm going to put my opinions to the side. I'm going to put our differences aside.
Breathe.
And again, that's that choice. And I think that takes practice.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. And I think sometimes it could be misconstrued by kids unless you verbalize it as being a doormat in some sort of a way. You know, I think it's very important the way you show that you are being agape loving right now, and you are being patient right now, and you are being all these things, but you are not being walked on and a doormat. That those are different. And I think it's an important thing to model and to say out loud, like, I am choosing love right now. Like, you might be being rude to me. You're being rude, but I am not going to be rude back because I am choosing to love you.
Right. And if you think about any of the amazing relationships that you've had over your life, you know that had to exist in that relationship, whether you understood the word or not, right?
Yes.
The hard times that you've gotten through is because, you know, a good relationship, there is sacrifice, there is a compromise, there is that really talking and hashing some things out, and that's huge. And the reason, you know, great idea to bring these up is because it's like, this is nothing new.
No.
You know, it's like Martin Luther King, one of my favorite mentors, right?
Yes.
As I read his stuff, and that guy's a mentor to me. And he talked in his speeches, and he talked in his writing about this old ancient Greek language of love. And he brought those into those things. And it's like, it's not new.
No.
It's just maybe we need to recall our attention back to what
English
love
just
really
kind of like
is.
jumped over it.
Yeah.
You know, English just didn't really care about it.
Yeah, well, and I think that in our society with the like button, and we're getting a little bit misconstrued on, like, are those people liking your picture? They don't love you.
No.
You know, they're doing the same thing we're all doing. It's like rolling through and, like, I don't know, approving or whatever you call it. But to have those moments in your life where you're really understanding what that love is. And then,
and it's deep, right? It's like humanity. It's like dignity. It's like saying, like, I recognize you are a God creation. I recognize that you, even if you, right? Because we're just being honest. Like, even if you look like that, even if you talk like that to me, even if you're, all the things that, like, you could look at someone and, like, choose not to like them, right? Because sometimes you can choose to love someone you don't like. It's deep. It's deep, and says, I recognize that you're created by God, and we all are. And because you are, I love you.
Yeah. And I think agape love allows you to not take it so personal. You know, oftentimes when people are hurting us, it's because they got some hurt going on, and they don't know how to give you what they need. Yeah. Right. So, like, I need love, so I'm going to give you love. I need kindness, I'm going to give you kindness.
And they're doing some
I need
opposite.
Thanks and praise, I'm going to give you praise. They're doing something completely opposite.
Yeah.
And it's a very confusing world we live in, right?
Yeah.
Because our emotions and the biggest thing that you can do for yourself to show yourself love is, number one, know that you're worthy.
Yeah.
Right. And then don't be afraid to put into the world what you need back.
Yeah. I think that's the way you get it, right? You want love, give it. You want forgiveness, forgive.
Yeah.
You want kindness, be kind. You want more fulfillment in your life. Oh, what would that one be? You want fulfillment? Seek meaning. That's I think that's my biggest fulfillment.
Why not
meaning.
go back to service?
Yeah.
You know, figure out one of these 5 reasons why to serve, and choose one, and then to go help the next person, right? And then see what you get back in return for that. You know, and you don't. You know, it's funny because, like, you know, and you come from a school with a low socioeconomic background, right?
Yes.
What you'll find, and in my 10 years of teaching and almost 34 years on this planet, right, is that what I've noticed is that people who have the least give the most.
They do.
They're amazing. So that, I mean, you know, there's
when
that's
you know
that
what it's like to
connection.
need, then you're compelled to give, right? When
Yeah.
you've been there.
And what I'm seeing is that they're putting into the world what they've needed.
Yep.
And we're giving it back because that connection to express gratitude through service
Definitely.
is there. So philia love, okay, brotherly love.
Philia love, yes.
Yeah. And that's just like friends.
Yeah.
Like, tell me
got
about
a
how
lot of those.
important friends are to have in your life.
Oh, friends are amazing.
Yeah.
Friends are the best.
Why do we need friends?
Oh, why do we need friends? We need camaraderie. We need fellowship. I think friends are there to encourage and be there for each other. My birthday's in a couple of days, and my friends are like, let's go on a hike, trying to figure out how we, because karaoke, of course, was the plan, but now that's not the plan anymore. Friends are there to just surround you and love you and pick you up when you're down. And
And so let me ask you this question. Do your friends, your closest friends, do they love you for who you are?
I believe so, yes.
Good. I love that. I think that's got to be there. And I'm going to ask this. Do you love them for who they are?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
And there's not this facade. And the older I've gotten like, what a facade. Like, I'm like, quit, take off your mask and show me who you are. Like, quit, let's be real.
Oh,
Come
with other
on.
people, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is people like us who are kind of joyful and happy all the time, people think we're putting on some sort of a show. Have you ever received that at school?
No. Well, yeah, I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I get off the sign like, dude, you are weird.
Yeah.
You are a weird guy.
Yeah, they'll
'cause
think I'm weird.
You just are like
Yeah.
energetic, and I'm like, it often is a choice. Like, I gotta choose it
Yeah.
each day, and sometimes I gotta fake it till I make it.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah, it's not.
But I've had kids ask students like, is she always like that? Is that like really who she is? Because I think just as animated, as joyful, as happy, like this isn't kind of a normal kind of a thing.
Right.
I forgot where we just were.
Well, just
getting to
that your true friends, right? That.
Oh, the
Leah,
facade, the
right?
mask.
That friend, this is like your brother, your sister, and like that is a true friend, and there's true mutual love there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean.
Oh yeah, we're old enough now. I mean, I'm older than you, but it's you get past like surface stupid pretty quick to figure out who are adults that you want to spend your time with. So I'm fortunate.
I just wish our kids
friends.
could do that a little bit quicker. Or figure that out, because man, there's so much freedom that comes with that.
Oh my gosh, there's so much drama for the teens we work with, but I think a lot of adults struggle to find good friends. I think especially couples who, especially my husband and I who have no kids, and we're in our later 40s now.
You don't have to say your age.
Later 40s. No, I love it. I'll be 46 in 2 days. Our best friends are in their 30s. And they have no kids. Sometimes it's hard. We've just fortunately in the last couple of years found other couples that we love to spend our time with, but that hasn't always been the case for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and it's just like that accepting of one another, and being your true authentic self, I think, is huge when finding good friends that truly love you for who you are. And we've talked about this a lot on the show, is just that investing in those that are willing to invest in that back, and that'll change over time.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely will.
Yeah.
So I got to bring this up, Erin. You are a singer.
I'm a singer.
Okay. So if you could pick, a karaoke song.
I can't pick one. I have to pick like 20.
All right. Well, what would be a first couple that would show up?
Okay, well, the first one that comes to my head that I probably haven't sung in a long time, which is funny, is Something to Talk About by Bonnie Raitt.
Let's give them something. That one?
People are talking. Yeah. It was one of the first songs I sang. So I started singing in college. I started singing when I was probably 15 or 16. My voice changed. I was terrible before that. And then something happened where my friends were literally like, oh my gosh, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. Like, out of nowhere, I could sing. My friend and I used to sing Indigo Girls all the time, and we would harmonize. And obviously I have a pretty low voice, and I would always take the low route. But when I got to college, I found a guitar player, and I sang in a bar every Friday night for 3 hours. I did a 3-hour gig my senior year, and I started out singing Something to Talk About just in some other bar while some other guy was doing his gig. He would like call me over, and I would like do that. And then I started singing the national anthem and different things like that at sporting events at Penn State. And that was pretty awesome.
I have just nightmares about, because I like to sing. I really do. And there's been points in my life that I've had a little bit of a voice, but coaching, I mean, you're through the drills, and it's like one way to destroy your voice is go through coaching. But, it's like, it's that finding some songs that you like to do.
Oh, it's a lot of songs.
Yeah. And you'd bring up the national anthem. It's like, talk about a more courageous thing to do.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm courageous. Like, I'll face my fears, but like singing the national anthem in front of a crowd, the worry of messing up the words.
Can I tell you my biggest one? Do you want to hear the story?
Yeah, because you're sitting here like, sing the national anthem, and I was like, you're crazy.
Yeah, so,
like I don't know if I could do it.
So the Bryce Jordan Center at Penn State for a basketball game years ago used to hold 15,000 people. I don't know how many people, I mean, if it's bigger now or what, but I was singing my first national anthem in Bryce Jordan. I remember getting kind of like a little bit dressed up, and I'm like pacing down on the floor. It's a Penn State basketball game, and I can hear like friends in the crowd, like who knows where they're sitting, just, yeah, March, my maiden name. I can hear people yelling. And they told me you will follow out the color, like the color guard or whatever, the flag, not the color guard. You'll follow the guys out with the flag. You will go to mid-court. The buzzer will sound. It was either the buzzer will sound and then you will sing, or you will sing and then the buzzer will sound. I don't remember which one. All I know is I got out there. I'm like freaking out because 2 rows of huge dudes are on either side of me that are the basketball players. And then I sing the national anthem on autopilot because in that moment you have no idea what you're doing. Thank goodness it was practiced.
The words hopefully come out right.
A gajillion times. Yeah. And then the buzzer sounds and I like jump. My body like freaks out.
It's over. What happened?
Oh my gosh. And then I like walk off. And then I have to say to someone, did I do it right? Did I say it right? Did I screw anything up? Like, because really it's surreal. It's like really weird, especially in a place that big in front of that many people.
Okay. So do you still do any bar gigs, or do you do any singing gigs? What do you got?
So most of my singing gigs are like in church, or we karaoke a lot. So I do a lot of karaoke gigs, but no, I haven't had my own thing in a really long time, which is awesome. A bummer. Again, I just need more time because I would love to do it.
So I can imagine when you're singing, and so I got to tell you, you've given me a gift. I mean, I'm doing it right now.
Oh.
I've started to put my hand on my heart.
Oh.
Because I remember talking to you a couple of years ago, and you're just like, "Oh, it's like my kids know, my kids know when I'm having a snapping moment or a like something hitting deep. Like I put my hand on my heart,
and put my hand out to them,
and I
go,
just feeling it,
babe. That's what we say. I go, babe.
Yeah. So I imagine when you're singing, you're touching your heart a lot.
Oh, I don't know. Probably not.
No?
No, I don't think I do that. No, well, it's expressive. It's this.
Thank you for that gift anyways. I found myself doing it because
really?
I'm like, it's like I do snap still a lot. Like my kids know that when I'm snapping, that means I'm like, this is rolling, good right here. But I've found that I've since I've heard you say that, I've been snapping and putting my hand on my heart.
Cute.
It's just like that love is there for whatever's being said.
You guys.
Whatever doing this. So it's just another thing. A shout out to my freshman VP, Bella. She sang the national anthem the other night at our basketball game.
How was it?
She killed it. She did awesome.
That's
so
great.
Good. And I walked over to her afterward, or maybe it was the next day in class, and I said, listen, young lady, you're a freshman in high school, okay? And you just did something that I don't think I could muster up the courage to do. So anybody out there singing the national anthem, you go.
Good job.
You go. Nice job. So I like to close the show always the same. And first off, thank you for being here.
Thank you. This was so fun.
Okay? And number 2, happy birthday in 2 days.
Oh, thank you.
Keep getting older and awesome and more great. But I always like to end the show with gratitude.
Let's do it.
And so I asked the question, who or what in your life is worthy of recognition And then here's a great opportunity to give it to him, because I think we should do this on a daily basis. We wait till birthdays, we wait till Thanksgiving, we wait till Valentine's, whatever, to tell people we love them and that we're thankful for them, or that, you know, we talk about everyone's worthy of love. Let's give that recognition as much as we can. So I ask often, as much as I can, daily, who in my life is worthy, or what in my life is worthy of some recognition, and then I do something about it. Nice. Like I send a text, or I do a post, or I whatever it might be. So here's an opportunity. You're on my podcast.
Well, shoot. I mean, you just want to like give a shout out to everyone you love.
Yeah. Who
I'd like to thank my parents.
Yeah. Everyone. Just you go down the list.
It's true. Right. I mean.
Yeah. But what would come to mind right now? Who or what in your life is worthy of some recognition? Go ahead and give it to them.
Yeah, but you're giving me like, you know, I'm going to want to cover like every single base, Joe. So I'm like, oh, my amazing husband who cooks us all delicious meals and is so kind and sweet and generous and loving. So shout out to Chris Livingston.
Nice. Well,
amazing,
food,
lovely
right?
The
the key to a heart.
Oh my
food.
goodness. Yes.
Is he a good cook?
Oh, amazing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's an amazing cook.
So do you ever cook?
Very rarely.
Okay. I'm also the cook in our relationship. But my wife, she has some staples that I just do. I love it. But I actually love when we cook together. It's really fun. Who or what in my life is worthy of recognition? I just got to tell you, like, I didn't know that my Uncle Randy would come up as much as he has in this conversation, and he passed away a few years ago, and I absolutely think that he is worthy of some recognition, and not only him, but like you know, his son put a post on on Facebook a while ago, and he's an entrepreneur, and he's building these wood patio heaters that are pellet fed and gravity fed, and he's just giving it everything he can to keep that thing rolling. And he talks a lot about his dad, and I we've been talking a little bit, and Michael Randy's come up a couple times, and I just so a shout out to my cousin who's working really hard and keeping his father in mind, even though he's passed. And then one of the closest people in that relationship, just I think about my relationship growing up with my cousin Crystal, who's just one of my closest in age cousin, who was Randy's daughter, and I'm just thinking of her oftentimes, and we all live apart, and we all got a million different things going on, and so those are some names that pop into my head right now, and I just I love you guys. Send some love.
You're so cute. And then I would like to also just remember the name of Marissa, the young lady that I got to spend so much time with when she was a child. She passed, I don't know how many years ago she died, but Marissa was my girl. She was my heart, and she's the one who opened up my heart to children in medical need and families in medical need.
I love that, and I love that about you. Is that you're an open door to love, and you're an open door to service, and you're just we talk about leading by example, and like Erin Livingston, you are a service-minded individual that lives with favor in your life, and I appreciate that about you so much. And so, you're worthy of some recognition too.
You too, Joe. Thanks.
All right. Well, that's going to close us up for the conversation today, listeners. I do want to encourage you to go follow us on Instagram. Capture.Joe on Instagram. Erin, is there a way that people can follow you or keep in contact with you?
Wonderfully Made is my Instagram without an O.
Okay.
WNDERFULL, Wonderfully Made.
Well, I hear you might want to get into podcasting.
Well, I do. That's another thing I think about, and I've created tiny templates for. It's just this time thing.
Oh, yeah.
This time thing and this studio. You're inspirational, Joe. This is
well, hey, when you get that thing up and rolling,
I will let you know.
I'm in like Flynn, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what that saying means, but
yeah, in like Flynn, me neither. Actually, I don't know how in you would be, because might be a warrior podcast. It might be focused on, this is my thought, past warriors who, just kind of telling their story, their struggle, where they are now, from where they started. And I think it might be the Heart of the Warrior podcast.
Hey, you got
maybe
you
the
got your
Spirit
first
of the
listener
Warrior
right here.
Podcast. podcast.
You got
Okay,
your first
listener, that'll be
listener
great.
here.
Thank you.
Any advice you need down the road, you just let me know.
Thank you.
All right,
I obviously will.
listeners, we love you.
Yes,
Thanks for
we love you.
for hanging out with me and Erin today.
Get out there, serve, love.
Yeah, absolutely. Put that
Little
into
things.
the world, especially if you need it, y'all. Especially if you need it.
That's right.
All right. Well, until next time, please work to capture it.